Hello everyone, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Gareth Southgate has announced his England squad for Euro 2024 and we're going to look through it. We're going to look through what he's done right and what he's done wrong, because trust me, there's a bit of both. Okay, so we're going to go through every position and just have a bit of a conversation about every role, and obviously some of the absentees that haven't made it. 7 players haven't been picked for this England squad. We're going to talk about them and talk about the players who have stayed, because I do have quite a few thoughts about this. Goalkeeper wise, I think it was what we were expecting. We talked about this in my tier list video. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. But we talked about how James Trafford was probably not going to make it. He just isn't quite there yet. I think he's a star in the making, and he's going to grow and fill into those gloves. But at the moment, I think these are the 3 picks. Jordan Pickford being 1, and I think you've got Dean Henderson and Aaron Ramsdale fighting out for 2nd and 3rd. I don't think there's a lot between them. Perhaps Ramsdale is 3rd because of lack of game time, and Dean Henderson 2nd. But we know that Jordan Pickford is going to be England's number 1 between the sticks. Moving on, let's talk about the defenders, because I think this is the most controversial real category here. And the first thing you notice is that Harry Maguire is not here. He's not in the list, and that's apparently down to injury. I wonder whether if he was fit, whether he would be taken. He might not have been. Lewis Dunk is in place. Ezri Konsa has been picked. Mark Gahey's been picked, and that's pretty much the centre-back partnerships, as well as John Stones. But we knew John Stones is one of the mainstays. He's number 1. Lewis Dunk and Mark Gahey are very interesting, and I'll explain this for a number of reasons, because I want to talk about Jarrad Branthwaite. And when we talk about Branthwaite, I think he's been one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League this season. Everton have kept some of the most clean sheets in the league, more than most clubs, and Branthwaite has been a massive part of that. When you compare Branthwaite to both Lewis Dunk and Mark Gahey, the effects are quite staggering. So take a look at this. This is Lewis Dunk compared to Jarrad Branthwaite for this season. Now, if we take a look at the heat map, we can see that Branthwaite is in arguably a more defensive role. Dunk gets forward a whole lot more, even entering the opposition half a lot more than Branthwaite does. But when I talk about a defender, I want my defenders to defend. I think Branthwaite is a lot faster, which is a metric that you can't really measure here. I think he's a lot better and a lot more physical than Lewis Dunk is. And these are all things that we need to consider when thinking about who is going to be making it and who isn't. And then when we talk about the minutes per game, Branthwaite has played more minutes, but it's marginal in this particular instance. And you could say that Lewis Dunk has more offensive capability. He's got more goals, he's got more expected goals, but I want my defenders to defend. And really, in every single defensive metric, or nearly every single defensive metric, Jarrad Branthwaite actually is better in nearly every single category. Now, I'm not knocking Lewis Dunk, I'm more bigging up Jarrad Branthwaite. I think he's been fantastic, and I think he deserves to go. And what's even more crucial for me are the ground duels and the aerial duels won. Branthwaite has won more aerial duels and more ground duels than Lewis Dunk, by quite a margin, especially in the ground duel category. 47.8% to 67%, and then winning more aerial duels as well. And that is especially a thing that I want to talk about when comparing him to Mark Gahey, who is in the same boat here. I don't have any problem with Gahey, but I just think that Branthwaite has performed better this season. And if we're doing it off merit, I don't really understand why Branthwaite hasn't featured. And then when I tell you that Mark Gahey has been injured for 3 months prior to his, I would say, 4 or 5 games towards the end of the season, I question how much game time he had. He's only played 25 times this season for Crystal Palace. Branthwaite has played 10 more times than him. I was about to say at least 10 more times, but in the Premier League it's exactly 10. And yes, of course, Gahey has an assist and Branthwaite doesn't, but when we talk about the defensive metrics, i.e. here, Branthwaite is better. 1.4 interceptions to 0.7, 1.9 tackles to 1.1. He's just generally had a better season defensively. 4.5 clearances to 3.5. And then again, it's those real major metrics that I talked about with regards to the ground duels and the aerial duels one, which Branthwaite is higher on. Again, marginally, but one stat that I would really look towards is the aerial duels. 1.2 per 90, 2.7 per 90 for Branthwaite. So he's just winning generally more duels per 90. When you look at his percentage in comparison, 50%, I don't think a major centre-back at a tournament should be winning only half of his aerial duels. I just don't. I'm sorry. That's just me. Branthwaite for me was the clear and obvious partner for Stones, and if it wasn't going to be Branthwaite, I would have picked Maguire. The fact that both of them aren't there, and the fact that we don't really have a centre-back that is left-footed, is a real concern to me, and I think it's a massive, massive problem. Let's go back to the squad and really talk about the rest of them, because for the most part, I actually like the rest of them. I understand why Joe Gomez is there for the rotation. I understand why he's given a chance on Luke Shaw. However, I would question whether he's actually going to be fit. I'd wonder why you haven't picked Ben Chilwell when he's probably a far more reliable person when it comes to injury. John Stones makes sense, Kieran Trippier makes sense, and so does Kyle Walker. But there are some real question marks for me around Harry Maguire not being played, which is fine if you want to take someone else, but Jared Branthwaite is a massive miss for me. Moving into the midfielders, I think this is absolutely fine. Trent Alexander-Arnold makes a lot of sense. I wonder if we're going to play him in midfield for the most part. If you would like me to do a England setup video, let me know in the comment section below. I'd really like to give it a go. If you'd like to see it, let me know. Conor Gallagher, Kobbie Mainoo, Declan Rice all make sense for me. Adam Morton is an interesting pick, especially considering the fact that he hasn't had nearly any experience, and maybe it's just a wild card just in case. But he's seriously lacking when it comes to proper international presence. He's earned it, don't get me wrong, but I wonder if it's going to get the better of him later down the line. And then we have a look at the forwards. Jude Bellingham, Jarrod Bowen, Eberechi Eze, who was another massive, massive call. Jack Grealish missing out, obviously. He hasn't had a great season, Grealish has he? And Eberechi Eze really looked like he was up for it, driving, gliding past players. And I wonder if the likes of Anthony Gordon don't make it into the starting 11, whether Eze gets a chance out on that left-hand side. Really interesting stuff. Phil Foden, obviously going to be picked. Harry Kane, clearly. Cole Palmer here is just off screen, but he is being picked. Bukayo Saka, Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins. It's exactly what I wanted to see from my tier list. I wanted to see Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins and Harry Kane picked. I just think the versatility of those three give is fantastic. Jarrod Bowen was out of a lot of people's teams, and it turns out that Gareth Southgate has picked him. I think his pace, I think his dynamism and his directness is something that's really good. And that is the England side. That is just generally my thoughts. And why I think Gareth Southgate has got it massively wrong here with the defenders. I think Branthwaite needed to go. I really do. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about this England squad? How far do you think it can go? And do you think they have any realistic shot of winning the tournament? Let me know who you would have dropped, who would you have taken, and if you would like to see that all-important setup video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.